The year was 1987, and the bodybuilding world was gearing up for one of the most memorable moments of the decade, the 23rd edition of the legendary Mr. Olympia. Sanctioned by the IFBB, the event already carried decades of tradition, but every new edition came with the expectation of something huge. Fans weren't just waiting to see bodies sculpted to the extreme. They wanted the show, the rivalry, and the constant evolution of the sport. And that year, everything pointed to a historic showdown. The chosen stage was the Scandinavium, an impressive arena in Gothenburg, Sweden. The European atmosphere gave the whole event a special vibe, making it feel even more global. Picture it, thousands of fans packed in, bright lights bouncing off the athletes' muscles, and a suspenseful energy growing with every pose. It was the perfect setup to celebrate not only physical power, but discipline, dedication, and the art of building a physique. Mr. Olympia 1987 brought together some of the most respected names in professional bodybuilding. It was the classic old-school era, massive physiques, balanced symmetry, and aesthetics that defined the sport. But more than the impressive builds, it was the mindset of that era that really stood out. These athletes competed with grit and passion, driven by the desire to etch their names into the sport's history. Another highlight from that year was the prize money, which showed how much bodybuilding had grown as a global spectacle. Sources point to a total purse between $113,000 and $120,000, a pretty big amount at the time, with most of it going to the top finishers. That investment proved how important the event had become, drawing in sponsors, media, and a growing global fan base. Everyone in the audience knew they were witnessing something big. The combination of legendary athletes, an iconic arena, and sky-high expectations created an atmosphere few sports can replicate. Even before the results were announced, it was clear that Mr. Olympia 1987 would mark an era and become a reference point for future competitors and fans alike. And that blend of tradition, emotion, and sheer magnitude is exactly why this edition is still remembered as one of the greatest moments in bodybuilding history. When fans settled into their seats that night in 1987, they knew they were about to see incredible athletes, but one name dominated every conversation: Lee Haney. Already a three-time Mr. Olympia champion, he wasn't just the favorite. He was the guy redefining what professional bodybuilding was supposed to look like. His presence demanded respect, admiration, and a certain curiosity. How far could that near-perfect physique go? Haney stepped on stage with the confidence of someone who understood the weight of his own legacy. His massive back, tight waist, and almost surgical balance between size and aesthetics instantly grabbed everyone's attention. Every pose looked like a declaration of dominance, every movement saying he was there to keep the crown. The crowd felt it. Ignoring his presence was impossible. His performance that year left no doubt. He was on another level. Strong competitors like Gaspari and Lee Labrada brought incredible physiques, but Haney controlled the whole show from start to finish. His dense muscle, classic lines, and flawless proportions created a look that represented the absolute ideal of that era. It wasn't just mass, it was harmony, presence, the old-school definition of perfection. When the judges announced Lee Haney as the champion for the fourth straight year, the arena erupted. This wasn't just a win, it was the confirmation of a reign. Taking home $55,000 for first place, roughly the equivalent of global top-tier prize money at the time. He solidified not just his spot on the podium, but his status as one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. And the wild part? His journey was far from over. That victory marked a turning point. With 4 titles, Haney was exactly halfway through a run that would eventually take him to 8 consecutive Mr. Olympia wins. His 1987 triumph became a symbolic milestone, showing the world that he wasn't just competing. He was building a legacy that would inspire generations. Looking back, it's easy to see why Lee Haney is remembered as one of the pillars of the sport. His poise, his physique, and his mindset shaped what it meant to be a champion. And for anyone who watched the 1987 Mr. Olympia live, witnessing that moment felt like seeing history being written in real time, with the kind of intensity only a true icon can deliver. On the other hand, when the results started being announced on the Scandinavium stage, the crowd hung onto every name. The top 6 that year represented the absolute elite of global bodybuilding, and each athlete arrived with an incredible physique and a well-established career. But the final order mattered. It reflected not just performance, but consistency, strategy, and the visual impact each competitor made on both the judges and the audience. As everyone expected, first place went to Lee Haney, crowned for the fourth year in a row and taking home $55,000. Right behind him, Gaspari locked in another runner-up finish, strengthening his reputation as one of the most conditioned physiques the sport has ever seen. He earned $25,000 for second place. In third came Lee Labrada, who won over the crowd with his refined aesthetics and flawless lines, and with $13,000, he cemented his place among the greats. Fourth place went to Mike Christian, known for his dense muscle and commanding stage presence. He received $9,000. Just behind him was Robbie Robinson, a true bodybuilding icon, who placed fifth and took home $6,000. Closing out the top six was Barry de May from the Netherlands, turning heads with his classic symmetry and highly aesthetic physique, earning $4,000. Before we keep going, hey, did you already hit the like button? If not, go ahead and smash it real quick. Alright, let's get back to the video. The next placing showed just how deep and competitive that year's lineup really was. Seventh place went to Albert Beckles, a veteran legend who kept impressing even after decades in the sport. Edward Kawak secured eighth, bringing the dense, powerful look typical of the best athletes from Lebanon. Ninth went to Ron Love, followed by Michael Ashley in 10th and John Nadishak in 11th, showing off a solid and well-crafted physique. Even the final placings deserve recognition, because they highlight the international reach of the event. Bertil Fox represented the United Kingdom in 12th place, while Peter Hensel and Joseph Grolmes held the 13th and 15th spots for Germany. Paul Jean-Guillaume from France landed in 14th, and Swedish competitor Ulf Larsson represented the host country in 16th. Herman Hoffend, also from Germany, finished 17th, and Steve Brisbois from Canada closed the list in 18th place. This set of results didn't just show Haney's dominance. It showcased the diversity of styles and talents at Mr. Olympia 1987. Each athlete brought their own interpretation of the perfect physique, creating a visual spectacle that truly matched the magnitude of the event. Looking at the full picture of the 1987 Mr. Olympia, it's clear that this year marked a turning point for the sport. Lee Haney's victory wasn't just another win. It was the confirmation of a decade-long reign in motion. But the event also opened the door for new stories, like the rise of Lee Labrada. Still building his career, Labrada stood out precisely because he was different, smaller in size, but massive in aesthetics. His perfect symmetry and classic lines introduced a fresh type of athlete, proving that bodybuilding wasn't only about sheer muscle mass, but about balance and refinement. The 1987 Olympia was one of the early steps in his journey toward becoming one of the greatest aesthetic athletes the sport has ever known. Amid all that competition, Barry de May emerged as the ultimate example of European bodybuilding. With wide lines, graceful posing, and a beautifully balanced look, he brought a style that contrasted sharply with the heavier, denser physiques typical of American competitors. His place in the top six showed how Europe was carving out its own identity in the bodybuilding world, gaining fans both in the stands and in the specialized media. And speaking of Barry, we recently posted a full video about him, so don't forget to check it out. Another major highlight was Gaspari, finishing runner-up for the third straight time. Gaspari was known for his extreme conditioning, always showing up shredded, dense, and incredibly detailed. His dedication to muscular refinement made him one of the most respected athletes ever. Even without taking the title, 1987 strengthened his image as the relentless competitor who pushed Haney year after year, making the rivalry truly exciting. One interesting and pretty remarkable detail from that year was the strong American presence in the lineup. Out of the 18 competitors, 10 were from the United States, a clear sign of the country's dominance in professional bodybuilding at the time. That wasn't just about technical level. It also reflected how fast the sport was growing in the US, especially with the boom of gyms, bodybuilding magazines, and the influence of icons like Arnold and the Weider brothers shaping the global scene. All of this helps explain why the 1987 Mr. Olympia is remembered so fondly by fans. It wasn't just a competition, It was a living snapshot of a transitional era where different styles clashed, new talent emerged, and Haney's reign became even more solid. After revisiting every detail from the 1987 Mr. Olympia, it's pretty clear why this event became such a milestone in bodybuilding history. The battles were intense, the physiques were legendary, and the moments created there still inspire athletes and fans around the world today. And now that you went through this journey with us, I want to know, which athlete from this lineup impressed you the most? Haney with his absolute dominance? Labrada with his flawless aesthetics? Or Barry de May representing the peak of the European look? Drop your answer in the comments. Your opinion always adds so much to our conversations. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps our channel reach more people and keeps us creating content like this, made with a lot of passion for everyone who loves bodybuilding history. And if you want to support us even more, consider becoming a channel member. You get exclusive perks, and you help us keep this project alive. It's a win-win that makes our community stronger and even more special. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. We're building a space dedicated to the biggest names in the sport, iconic competitions, and those hidden stories that most people never hear about. Every subscription counts and brings us closer to creating a united community built on respect, nostalgia, and passion for bodybuilding. And since you made it this far, we already know you love this kind of content. So when this video ends, check out the one that's going to pop up on your screen. You'll find another amazing story from our sport, maybe another historic Mr. Olympia, the evolution of a legendary athlete, or a curiosity you never saw coming. I'm sure you'll enjoy it just as much as this one. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Stay with us on this journey through the memories and achievements that shaped the bodybuilding world. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, keep the passion for the sport alive.